Hello and welcome to the Alpha Edge Podcast, the show for men over 50 who refuse to fade out, slow down, play small, or settle for average. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert, coach, and founder of the Alpha Edge, and I am here to help you get and stay strong in every dimension of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, morally, and spiritually. You're here because you're ready to reclaim your power, to own your masculinity, and lead your life with strength and purpose. If you're ready to sharpen your edge, revive your drive, and lead like a man who's built for more, you're in the right place. All right, men, let's get after it. All right, men, we are back. Welcome to the very first episode of 2026 of the Alpha Edge Podcast. And guys, I'm going to be honest here. I've missed this. I've been gone for a little over a month now. Took a little break over the holidays here. And I've missed these conversations. I've missed speaking directly to men who are actually trying to level up their lives and not just talk about it, not just post motivational quotes about it, but actually do the work. So if you're listening right now, I want you to know something. You are not here by accident. You're here because something in you, like me, wants more. You want more strength, more clarity, more purpose, more discipline, more edge. And look, this year, we're going to take it up a notch. So 2026 got some big plans. This is going to be bigger. It's going to be better. And my plan is to bring more heat than ever. So more solo episodes like this and a whole bunch more interviews with men who are living it, building it, leading their families, growing their faith, sharpening their bodies and their minds, and refusing to go quietly into that soft retirement mode. Because here's the deal. The world doesn't need any more passive men right now. It needs strong men. It needs capable men, calm men, men with conviction, and men who don't fold under pressure. And that's the idea. That's the tribe that we're trying to build here. So this isn't just a fitness podcast. This is a manhood podcast. So we're talking about the 5 pillars of strength. That's physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, moral strength, and spiritual strength. And that's what I'm calling the Alpha Edge. Now, since this is the first episode of this year, we're going to come in hot at the end of January. So I figured we should start with something that's most likely on everyone's mind right now, and that's your New Year's resolutions. Because by this point in the year, the gyms are already starting to get a little less crowded. I certainly know mine has. It was packed the first couple of weeks of January. Not so much now at the time of this recording, which is only just a couple of weeks after the New Year's rush here. And the motivation is already starting to fade. And most people are quietly going back to doing what they were doing last year. And I'm not saying this to shame anyone. I'm saying this because the truth is this. Most resolutions don't fail because you're weak. They fail because your strategy is complete and total garbage. There, I said it. You can have all the goals in the world. Look, I think goals are a fantastic thing. Everybody should have goals. Every man should have some, even audacious goals. But goals without a system are just daydreams waiting to get punched in the mouth by real life. So today what I want to do is I want to give you a framework that actually works, one that doesn't depend on motivation or hype or the perfect conditions, because you don't really need a fresh start. What you really need is a standard. So let's jump into this. Let's talk about the January lie. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that little voice in your head that shows up every new year like some motivational fairy godmother, and it's going to whisper something like, this time will be different. This time I'm going to lock in. This time I'm going to get serious. This time I'm going to lose the weight. This time I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to get disciplined. I'm going to become the man I know I'm capable of being. And listen, again, I'm not here to clown on goals. I love goals. Goals are good. Goals are important. Goals are powerful. But here's the problem I see. Most men treat goals like a wish. Like if they just want it badly enough, the universe is going to just hand it to them. Bro, the universe doesn't care, right? The universe is going to punch you in the face while you're still holding your vision board. And January is where it happens. Because January gives you this false sense of momentum. You got a fresh calendar. You got a fresh new year. You got new motivation. You got that new year, new me energy rocking. So you walk into the gym like a badass. You buy $400 worth of groceries like you're about to compete in the Olympia. You download 5 new habit apps. You're doing cold plunges and journaling, and you're listening to David Goggins while staring at the mirror like, I am him. And then what happens? Real life shows up. Your sleep gets jacked up. Work gets stressful. The kids need something. Your wife's got a full plate. Your back hurts. The schedule gets chaotic. You miss a workout. Then you miss two. Then you start over on Monday. And suddenly it's February and you're like, wait, how did I end up right back here? Let me tell you how. Because motivation is a liar. Motivation is your fickle friend. It is a temporary emotional state. It's like caffeine or it's like pre-workout. It hits hard and then it's gone, disappears. And if your plan for transforming your body and your life is, I'll do it for as long as I feel like it, you don't have a plan. You got a vibe, and vibes do not build strong men. So here's what a lot of guys miss is that you don't rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the levels of your system. I can't remember who first said that or where that quote's from, but I absolutely love that. And that's not just some cute motivational saying that you slap on a mug. It's the truth. Because when motivation fades, and look, it 100% absolutely will, the only thing that's left is your routines, your environment, your standards, and what you do on the days when you don't feel like doing it. And that's the difference between men who change and the men who keep repeating the same year over year over year again, just with new dates on the calendar. And I'm going to say this one more time, just as clearly as I can. If your transformation depends on your motivation, it's already dead. Because the moment you get tired, stressed, busy, overwhelmed, you'll default right back to the old version of you. I think most of you listening to this can relate to that. I know certainly I can. I've done that over and over in my life. And it's not because you're weak necessarily. It's because you didn't build a system strong enough to carry you when life gets real, when life gets heavy. So today we're going to fix that because you don't need any more hype. I'm not here to hype you up. You need a framework that works on your worst week, not just on your best weeks. So let's talk about the grim reality of why most resolutions crash and burn oftentimes before they really even get off the ground. So like I already said, the New Year's resolution gym crowd is already thinning out. I know in my gym, the parking lot's not packed anymore. The new me energy seems to be fading. And a lot of guys are already back to doing what they did last year, except now they feel guilty about it. And here's the deal. I don't think those guys are broken. I don't think they're lazy, most of them. And I don't think that they're necessarily undisciplined by nature. And I don't even think that they are failing necessarily because they're weak. I think they fail because they're using a strategy that was never built to survive real, actual life. Because here's the grim reality, resolutions don't usually die in a dramatic explosion. They die slowly. They die from neglect. They die from one missed workout, one stressful day, one weekend that's completely off the rails, or one I'll get back to it next week on next Monday. And then, of course, Monday becomes the next Monday. Next thing you know, it's March and you're right back where you started. So let's break down exactly why this happens. I got a couple of reasons here. Reason number one, you set a goal, but you never build a system. And this is the big one. Most guys go, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to get jacked again. I want to stop drinking. I want to get my testosterone up. I want to feel confident again. That's cool. That's great. But they never answer the real question. What am I doing on Tuesday at 6 p.m. when I'm tired and life is chaotic? Because that's where the results are made. It's not in the goal. It's in the execution. Goals are really easy to write down. Systems are hard because systems require you to confront your actual reality. Reason number two, a lot of you are relying on intensity instead of consistency. So this is classic January hero mode stuff. You go from 0 workouts to 6 days a week. You go from eating the standard American diet to eating only chicken breast and sardines. You go from drinking 5 nights a week to I'm never touching alcohol again. And look, to be fair, I respect the fire, guys, but most men don't need more intensity. They need more consistency because intensity feels like progress, but consistency creates progress. You don't need to go hard, but you do need to go long. Reason number 3, you don't define the minimum standard. I think this is where a lot of us guys get wrecked. We only have 2 modes. Mode 1, perfect week, or mode 2, I blew it, so screw it. And so we miss one workout and then we act like we got kicked out of the program. Men, you didn't fail. You missed a rep. But if you don't have a minimum standard, a bad day plan, if you will, then the first time life punches you in the mouth, and life will punch you in the mouth, you're done, right? So reason number 4, you don't plan for real life. This is the part that I think doesn't get talked about enough, because every plan looks great when you're well rested and you're well fed and low stress and you're feeling motivation. You got that January motivation high, but real life is messy. Real life is late meetings and sick kids and travel and bad sleep and tight deadlines. It's stress and it's back pain and it's a wife who needs you to show up like a man, not like a moody teenager. So if your plan only works when conditions are perfect, man, that's not a plan. That's a fantasy. Reason number 5, you try to change everything at once. This is a big one. You know what I'm talking about. You wake up January 1st like, all right, new year, new me, baby. And suddenly you're trying to lift 6 days a week. You're doing cardio every morning. You're tracking every macro. You're drinking a gallon of water every day. You're meditating for 15 minutes. You're journaling. You're cold plunging. What else? You're reading 30 pages a day. You're not eating sugar. You're deleting social media. You're fixing your marriage. And you're going to become a Navy SEAL by February. Yeah, maybe relax a little bit. You're a grown man with responsibilities. You don't need 14 new life-altering habits. You need one system that you can execute consistently. Reason number 6, you're confusing excitement with commitment. This is another big one, guys. January feels exciting. And look, I get it. It's exciting to me too, right? It feels like a fresh start. But excitement is different than commitment. Commitment is what shows up when you're tired. Commitment is what shows up when you're not in the mood. Commitment is what shows up when nobody's watching. And this is where things get a little uncomfortable. Most guys don't need a new goal. They need a new identity. Because the guy who keeps quitting is a guy who still sees himself as a quitter. And the guy who keeps restarting is the guy who sees himself as someone who tries. But trying doesn't change you. Execution changes you. So here's the takeaway. If you want 2026 to be different, you don't need more motivation. You need a system that survives real life. So let's talk about what that might look like. Because look, goals are good. Like I said, goals are great. But you know what? Goals alone, they ain't going to make you dangerous. That's for sure. So again, I want to restate this. I am not anti-goal. I love goals. I have goals. I have audacious goals. I think goals are powerful. I think goals are motivating. I think goals give you direction. In fact, if you ask me, I would call myself a goal guy. I love having something that I'm chasing. I like having a target. I like having a mission. But here's the problem. Most guys treat goals like the solution, when goals are really just the starting point, because a goal isn't going to change you. A goal doesn't make you disciplined. A goal doesn't make you strong. A goal doesn't make you consistent. It darn sure doesn't make you dangerous. You can write down the world's greatest goal and still live the exact same life. You can set a goal to lose 30 pounds and still hit the drive-thru when you're stressed. You can set a goal to get in the best shape of your life and still skip workouts the second your schedule gets tight. You can set a goal to be more present with your wife and your kids and still numb out on your phone every night like a zombie. Because goals are not the thing. Systems are the thing. Let me give you a simple way to think about this. Goals are the destination. They tell you where you want to go. Systems are the vehicle. They determine whether you're actually going to get there. And identity, your identity, is the driver. It determines whether you stay the course when the road gets hard. That's the real order of operations. And I feel like a lot of us get that backwards. We think, I'll set a goal, then I'll feel motivated, then I'll become disciplined. Nope. It actually works like this. You build a system, you execute the system, and over time, you become the man who does what he said he'd do. And that is what changes everything. Because the goal is the outcome, but the system is the lifestyle. And let me make this painfully practical. A goal sounds like this. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to build muscle. I want to get lean. I want to get out of debt. I want to feel confident again. I want to stop feeling soft. I want to be a better husband. I want to lead my family. Cool. Love it. All those things are great. But a system sounds like this. I'm going to lift 3 days a week no matter what. I'm going to hit my protein target at every meal. I will walk after dinner every night. I will stop eating like an unsupervised teenager by 8 p.m. I'm going to go to bed at a grown man hour every night. I don't negotiate with my standards. That's more like a system. And systems don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your mood. They don't care if it's raining or if you feel tired, or they don't care if work was stressful. Systems are built, or I should back up and say good systems are built to run even when life gets chaotic. And that is why systems win. Now, let's talk about this word dangerous for a second, because you guys know I love talking about being a dangerous man. And I use that word very intentionally. When I say dangerous, I don't mean reckless. I don't mean angry or violent. I mean dangerous in the best way. I mean a man who is calm and capable and disciplined and hard to knock off his path. I mean a man who can handle pressure, a man who can handle temptation, a man who can deal with discomfort, a man who doesn't fall apart the second his life gets inconvenient. That's what I mean when I say be dangerous. And goals alone do not make you that man. Goals can inspire you, but systems build you, because motivation fades, but a system should hold the line. So if you've been setting goals every January and then falling off by every February, then you need to hear this. You don't need a new goal this year, but you do need a new operating system. You need a framework that turns I want into I do. So let's talk about what that might look like here. So grab a pen or open your notes app or whatever you got to do, because this right here, this is the difference between being a guy who talks about changing and being a guy who actually does it. Let's put together an Alpha Edge system. We're going to do this in 4 parts. It should be simple, practical, but most importantly, I want this to not break when your life gets messy. Because you guys already know this, your life isn't going to suddenly get easier just because you decided to lock in this year. Your schedule isn't going to magically open up, and stress isn't going to magically disappear. Your responsibilities aren't going anywhere. So again, if your plan requires a perfect week, it's already dead in the water. You need a system that works when you're tired, when you're busy, when you're stressed, and when you're not in the mood. And here it is. Part 1 is the standard. This is where everything starts, because a man without standards is a man who's going to drift. He gets pulled around by cravings and mood and stress and convenience. But a man with standards, he's anchored. He doesn't need motivation because he's got rules, not like rigid rules like a robot, but standards like a man. So here's the question. What are your non-negotiables? Not your goals, not your dreams, not your someday wish list, but your standards. What do you do even when life is chaotic? So some examples of standards could be I strength train at least 3 days per week. I hit my protein at every meal. I walk 7,000 steps every day. I don't drink during weekdays. I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. I don't eat or drink after dinner. So things like that, right? And I'm going to tell you something that might sting a little. If you don't have standards, you don't have freedom. You have constant decision fatigue. You're negotiating with yourself all day like you're your own hostage negotiator. Should I work out today? Should I eat better? Should I drink tonight or not? Should I start tomorrow? Yeah, that's exhausting. Standards remove that debate. Standards are how you become the kind of man who executes, because real men don't negotiate with their standards. All right. Part number 2 is the minimum. Now, this is where a lot of guys screw up. They create this plan that only works when they feel amazing, and then they plan like they're going to be perfectly motivated every single day. And then they forget that they're actually human beings. So I want you to build what I call your minimum. And this is your bad day plan, because bad days are coming. And if your system doesn't include or factor in a bad day plan, then one bad day becomes a bad week, and then a bad week becomes I'm going to start over next month. So here's what the minimum looks like. If you can't do your full workout, you still do something. If you can't, say, meal prep, you still hit your protein. If you're slammed with work, you still get your steps in. If you didn't sleep well, you still show up and keep the standard alive. So let me give you a couple examples here. So a minimum workout option might look like, no matter what, even if I can't get to the gym, I'll at least get 20 minutes of work in. Maybe it's just push-ups and squats, a few rows, some planks, done. A minimum nutrition option might look like, hey, if I'm on the go, I'm busy, I can't have my regular meal, I'll do let's say a protein shake, a Greek yogurt, and some fruit. Done. It's a minimum. A minimum movement option, I'm going to walk a minimum 10 minutes after dinner. Done. And this is how guys win long term, because you don't need perfection, but you do need continuity. You need consistency. You need the chain to stay unbroken, because the biggest lie, especially in fitness, is this: if I can't do it perfectly, it doesn't count. Man, that mindset's going to keep you stuck forever. Your minimum is how you stay in the fight. All right, part 3 is the trigger. All right. Now we need to make this automatic because willpower can be unreliable, right? Willpower is like your phone battery. It's full in the morning and dead by 4 p.m. So you're going to need some triggers. A trigger is something that makes a habit happen without you really having to think about it. This is how you stop relying on motivation. So some examples of triggers are: when I make coffee, I drink a protein shake. Or when I get home from work, I immediately change into gym clothes. Maybe after every dinner, I go for a walk. Every Sunday night, I plan my workouts for the next week. When I finish brushing my teeth, I do 5 minutes of meditation or stretching or journaling or something like that. Triggers are powerful because they turn your habits into autopilot. And look, if you're a man with a busy life, autopilot's your best friend, because discipline isn't about white knuckling your way through every day. It's about designing your life where the right choice is the easy choice, or at least it's an easier choice. So if your habits require you to feel like it, you're going to lose. But if your habits are triggered automatically, you'll win even when you're tired. All right, finally, part number 4 is the scoreboard. And this is the final piece. This is the one that separates the men who change from the guys who stay stuck. You need a scoreboard because men like to win. We like to compete and we like to win, and you can't win a game that you're not tracking. Most guys are walking around like, I think I'm doing pretty good. Meanwhile, I haven't trained in 9 days and they're eating Pop-Tarts at midnight. So we're not doing that. We are tracking the basics, not obsessively, not like a neurotic accountant, but like a man who's serious about results. So here's an example of a simple weekly scoreboard. You might say something like workouts completed, and then you got to fill in the blank. Your minimum is 3, let's say. Protein hit days this week. Your goal is going to be 7 days, and you fill in the blank. How many days did you hit it? Minimum 7,000 steps per day, and your goal is 7 days a week. How many days did you actually hit that? Sleep goal nights. I'm going to be in bed by 10 p.m. every night. Your goal is 7 days. How many days did you hit that? Alcohol-free days. Maybe you say, I'm not going to have any drinks Monday through Friday. So then your goal would be 5. And how many days did you hit that? And really, that's it. And here's why I think this matters. When you track your behavior, you become aware. And when you become aware, you start to take ownership. And when you take ownership, you change. Because what gets tracked gets trained. It gets managed. And what gets trained gets stronger. So let's just summarize this again real quick. So we called this the Alpha Edge system here. We had the standard, that's your non-negotiables. We had the minimum, that's your bad day plan. We got the trigger. This is how do I turn these things into habits like this autopilot. And then you got your scoreboard. You got to have some sort of weekly tracking system. That's it. If you build this system, you won't need motivation. You won't need hype. You won't need a perfect week, but you'll have a framework that holds the line when life gets messy, because real life isn't going to stop testing you. But now you got a system that doesn't easily break. So let's put this into action, because I don't want you just to listen to this episode and feel all fired up and motivated. That's not what I'm looking for here. I want you to walk away with a win. I want you to walk away with some motivation. I want you to have an action plan here. So I feel like this is where a lot of self-help kind of stops, right? You got a whole bunch of good ideas. You're motivated. You feel fired up. You're kind of nodding your head. Yeah. I think that's what I need. And then you go right back to your life and nothing changes. We're not doing that here, because this is the Alpha Edge, right? We don't just consume information, we execute. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to commit to a 7-day challenge. Not because you're going to see a miracle in 7 days. You're not going to transform your body or your mind or your finances or your relationship in 7 days. But 7 days is going to prove something to you. You're still the kind of man who can follow through. And a lot of men need that proof. Because maybe you've been inconsistent. Maybe you've been off track. Maybe you've been starting over for way too long. Well, this is your comeback week. Not a comeback year, not a comeback month. Let's just keep this manageable. This is your comeback week. Because when a man can win 1 week, he can win the next one and then the next one. So here it is. We'll call this our 7-day reset plan. It's simple. It's not fancy. It's not complicated. That's by design. This is meant to be done by a man with a real life. So I got 7 rules for you here. Rule number 1 is train 3 times this week. I don't care if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't care if it's in the gym, in your garage, or in your bedroom. I don't care if it's 20 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. But you train 3 times. Because strength, physical strength, is your foundation. Strength makes everything easier. When you're stronger, you move better, you feel better, you walk taller. And when you're stronger, you stop acting like a man who's fragile. So 3 workouts, non-negotiable. Rule number 2, you're going to hit your protein every single day. Protein is the easiest adult decision you can make. It controls your hunger. It supports muscle. It stabilizes craving, and it keeps you from turning into a snack monster every night. So here's the rule. Protein at every meal. Just keep it simple. And if you don't know what that means necessarily, just look at it this way. Every time you eat, there should be something on your plate that used to have a face. Meat, eggs, maybe Greek yogurt, or even a protein shake. I don't care. Just hit the protein. Rule number 3, you're going to walk 10 minutes after dinner. And look, guys, this is one of the most underrated fat loss and blood sugar hacks on the planet. Just 10 minutes. Not an hour, not some insane cardio plan, just 10 minutes after every dinner. You can do it with your wife, you can do it alone, you can listen to some music, a podcast, or just walk and think like a man. But you walk every day. Rule number 4, no alcohol for 7 days. Listen, I get it. I'm not here to preach at you, but I am here to tell you the truth. If you want to start feeling lean, strong, energetic, and sharp, alcohol makes that harder. It crushes your sleep. It increases your cravings. It kills recovery. It lowers discipline, and it turns good intentions into screw it. So for the next 7 days, really simple. No alcohol. Not forever, not for a month, just for the next 7 days. You can handle 7 days. Rule number 5, I want you to sleep like a grown man. I'm not asking you to become a monk, but I am asking you to stop living like a teenager. You want more discipline? You want more fat loss? You want better testosterone, better mood, more patience? You want less anxiety? Then you need more sleep. So here's the rule, 7 hours minimum. And if you can't get 7, then at least commit to a consistent bedtime, because you can't build a strong life on exhausted willpower. Rule number 6, 5 minutes of spiritual strength. Look, this is the Alpha Edge, right? We're not just building strong bodies. We're building men. So 5 minutes a day. Prayer, scripture, journaling, quiet time, not a full sermon, not 45-minute Bible study, just 5 minutes. Because the man who can't sit still is usually the man who can't lead himself. And if you want to be strong in every area of your life, your spirit needs training and feeding too. And then finally, let's come back to this one. Rule number 7, track it. In this case, let's track it every day. Remember your scoreboard. The men who win keep score. So here's what I want you to track each day. Did I train? Yes or no? Did I hit my protein? Yes or no? Did I walk after dinner? Yes or no? Did I avoid alcohol? Yes or no? Did I get 7 hours of sleep? Yes or no? Did I do 5 minutes of spiritual strength? Yes or no? That's it. Super simple. No complicated spreadsheets, just a simple yes or no. Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is momentum. And now listen, this challenge isn't about impressing me. It's about proving something to yourself. Because deep down, you already know what you need to do. You just need to start doing it again. So here's my challenge to you. Don't overthink this. Don't negotiate with yourself. Don't wait for Monday. Whatever day you're listening to this, start today. Start tonight. Start with your next meal. Start with a walk after your next dinner. Start with 5 minutes of prayer. And then stack the next win and the next win and the next win. Because 1 week of follow through can wake up a version of you that's been asleep for far too long. Okay, so that's our 7-day reset there. So let's shift gears here a little bit. I want to talk about maybe the most important part of this, and that's identity. Because the goal isn't to become a man who tries. The goal is to become a man who does, a man who executes. Because everything we've talked about, goals and systems and standards and 7-day resets, none of that's going to work long term unless you understand this one thing. Your identity will always override your intentions. You can have the best plan in the world, but if deep down you still see yourself as the guy who quits, the guy who falls off, the guy who starts over, the guy who can't stay consistent, guess what? That's exactly who you're going to become again. Because you're not going to rise to the level of your goals. You're going to fall to the level of who you believe you are. And this is where I want to really challenge you, because I hear this phrase all the time. I hear guys saying things like, "Hey coach, I'm trying." And I know they mean well, but listen, trying is not a strategy. Trying is what you say when you want credit for the effort, but you haven't decided to become the man who follows through. Trying is what you say when you still want an escape hatch, an escape plan. Trying is what you say when you want to keep the option open to quit without feeling like a quitter or a failure. And I'm not saying this to beat you up or make you feel bad. I'm saying this because I want you to wake up. Because the truth is, you don't need to try. You need to decide. Decide that you're the kind of guy who trains. Decide that you're the kind of man who eats like an adult. Decide that you're the kind of man who doesn't let stress turn him into a weak version of himself. Decide that you're the kind of man who keeps his word, not just to other people, but to himself. Because if you can't trust yourself, if you don't follow through on what you said you do, then it's going to leak into everything. It's going to leak into your confidence, into your marriage and your leadership, your energy, your peace. And man, it is hard to feel like a strong man when you know you've been lying to yourself. So here's the identity shift I want you to make. I want you to stop saying, I'm trying to get in shape, and start saying, I'm the kind of man who trains. Stop saying, I'm trying to eat better. Start saying, I'm the kind of man who fuels his body like a weapon. Stop saying things like, I'm trying to be more disciplined, and start saying, I do what I said I would do, because that's what strong men do. And again, this is not about being perfect. This isn't about never messing up. This isn't about becoming some robot who never eats another cookie again as long as they live. This is about becoming a man who doesn't fall apart when life gets hard. This is about a man who can take a hit and keep moving. A man who can have a bad day, even a really bad day, and still hold the line. A man who can miss a rep, but not quit the whole workout. And that's the man we're building here. So if you're listening to this and you've been off track, good. Welcome back. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just one decision away from momentum. And the decision's actually pretty simple. Stop acting like a guy who's trying and start acting like a man who's becoming. Because goals are good. Goals are even great. But systems build you, and identity is what keeps you in the fight. All right, guys, let's land this plane. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. You don't need a new year. You just need a new standard, because motivation is going to come and go. Life is going to stay life. But a man with a system, a man with standards, a man who keeps his words, he becomes unstoppable over time. So here's what I want you to do next. Run that 7-day reset. Don't overthink it. Don't wait till Monday. Start today. Start right now, just for 7 days. That's it. Just prove to yourself that you're still in control. Number 2, if this episode resonated with you, share it with a brother who needs to hear it, because every man you know has some sort of January goal, and most of them are probably quietly losing that battle right about now. So send this episode to one guy who needs to hear it, one guy who's slipping or who's been stuck, or a guy who just needs a reminder that he is still capable of more. And then step 3, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, because baby, we are back. And like I said, this year is going to be bigger and better than ever. I'm so excited to get back. Just so you guys know, this is my passion project. I have a couple of different businesses. The main way I make a living is I'm a nutrition coach and personal trainer. I run a business called The Silver Edge, so I'm a fitness entrepreneur. But the Alpha Edge, this is my passion project. I love doing this every week. And like I said, I want this year to be bigger and better than last year. So more solo episodes, lots of interviews coming to you guys, more real conversation about what it means to be a strong man in a soft world. How do we be masculine men in this broken culture right now? And we are going after physical strength and mental sharpness and emotional control and moral conviction and spiritual depth. That's what I mean when I say the Alpha Edge. And if you're here for that, you are in the right place. And then lastly, guys, I'd love to hear from you. If you run that 7-day reset, message me and tell me that you did it. Seriously, you can either shoot me a DM on Instagram and say, hey man, I'm in, I ran the reset. Or you can email me at kevin@alphaedgearmy.com. But I'd love to hear from you, because I want to know who's actually executing and who's just listening. All right, guys, I'm proud of you for being here, sticking with me. If you're here to the end of this, now go do what most men won't. Hold the line, keep your word, build the system, and become the man you were meant to be. All right, guys, I am Coach Kevin, and this is the Alpha Edge Podcast. Until next week, stay strong. Okay, men, that's our show for this week. Don't forget to download our free guide titled How to Raise Your Testosterone Naturally. You can find the download link in the show notes for this episode on whatever app you're listening to this podcast on. If you've enjoyed today's show, here are 3 ways you can support us. Number 1, share this episode with a friend. Number 2, make sure to like and follow this show, and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Number 3, give us a follow over at Instagram. We're at Alpha Edge Army. So that's Alpha Edge Army all run together. I really appreciate you men taking the time to listen. And until next week, stay strong.